Hi, this is vlog number 15 of my journey to achieve a double bodyweight squat by April 2022. So this is the first week where I've missed a week. So last week I was on a family holiday down in the English Riviera. I had a lovely week with my family down in Torquay. So the last vlog I talked about kind of dealing with those breaks, and what I want to talk about today is kind of what the consequences of having a break were, and actually taking stock mentally and physically whilst I was away to re-look at the training and readdress some points. But the kind of challenges when you're taking a week away, and I'm not a full-time athlete, and those people who are trying to train and trying to achieve a goal around work and life and family will hopefully resonate with this, that you kind of have to put other things first. And going on family holidays is definitely one of those. Family time is precious, and you shouldn't not go because you're trying to kind of squat more and lift more and gain more weight and all those other things. But equally, kind of you feel like you're letting yourself down because you're not training. You should be pushing hard, and all the stuff on Instagram and Twitter should be saying you should work hard, you should do more. And actually, that's probably not the case. So I'll go through kind of some of the data I've taken this week, after that week, and then some of the kind of thoughts I had while I was away, about how I'm going to kind of refocus on this next phase. The pleasing message I'm going to have really is that, so this is not working as well as I'd like. There we go. This is the predicted 1RM scores used from load velocity profile that we're doing. So I do a squat at 60, 80, 100, 120, 130 kilograms, and then use that to predict what I think what my 1RM would be in theory. So this phase has been 7 weeks of front squats, and I've documented about how I've struggled with getting heavy weights and front squats through a set of 10, then a week off. But this model prediction shows that my 1RM has increased by around about 10 kilos, which is a pretty good improvement. It's 8%, something like that, improvement in 7 weeks of not back squatting. At the beginning of the phase, I said it's a general phase of training, and that any leg strength training that I was going to do should improve because I've detrained, and doing general training it should work fine. And halfway through that phase, it wasn't looking like that at all. If you see that kind of dip towards kind of the middle third of that graph, that's where I was mid-phase, because I hadn't quite worked out yet cluster training, how to use that to my advantage to get to those slower reps. So that second 4 weeks, I've seen quite a pronounced increase. So that's been a real positive. And that's come off the back of a week off. So if I'd have done it last week, maybe it would have been higher. I don't know. It might have been less because I was fatigued. But the moral of the story is there was like, I kind of had a good plan. The plan wasn't perfect. I reflected on that, adapted to it, applied some of the sport science knowledge that I've got, and kind of came at the back of that, and I've seen an increase in squat strength as a consequence of front squatting. So really, really happy with that. That's the primary goal. So kind of that's great. I'm moving in the right direction for my primary goal. I had a secondary goal of trying to get my body weight down. I'll just bring this a little bit larger because there's a bit more information to show here. So that middle orange line is my body mass, and that's basically measured on this left-hand side axis, and I stayed around about the 96 mark, and that's weight taken at the gym, not first thing in the morning. So kind of taking stock here, got to reflect on that. The goal was to bring the weight down. That is not happening. That's something I need to do better at. I've said that for 2 months now. Okay, it hasn't improved. Need to keep doing better. But every cloud has a silver lining. So the top yellow line with a black dotted trend line is muscle percentage. So that's gone up from around about 38% to 43%. So around about a 5% increase in body muscle percentage. That trend line there is clearly on the up. So that's a really positive sign for me. I've clearly gained muscle tissue. And on the grey line on the bottom, that's body fat percentage. And again, that's on the way down. So I can't be overly critical of myself for not changing body mass and dropping down body mass, because I have dropped down body fat and I have increased muscle mass. And I said at the outset of my first presentation that 42, increasing muscle mass is not an easy thing to do, so I'm going to be happy with that. the thing to reflect on is I could have dropped more body fat, and I've got to be honest with that. Loads of things I could do diet wise, lifestyle wise, discipline, commitment, routine, habits, you name it, control my environment. I could do lots of different things better to control that body fat percentage, and I've got to just make some subtle changes along the way and just keep going at that, and realise that's something to keep working on, because that isn't just having a squat goal in mind. That isn't just about getting the squat number to be as low as it can be. It's a general health thing as well. I don't think there's any reason to not have a health benefit to a performance goal. The next secondary aim was looking at peak power, relative peak power, jumping peak power. That wasn't something that I had set out at the beginning, but knowing what I know about strength training and its relationship to power, and then the nice idea that I could transfer some of the training and goals to improving weightlifting performance. Yeah, peak power's on the way up. So that dip you can see there, I'll just bring this larger again, is today's measurement. So it's a little bit down this morning. But generally speaking, that trend line is very steeply on the way up. You can see I've definitely improved relative peak power. So that's the amount of peak power per kilo of body mass produced. So the message is things are going okay. Could be going better, but it could be going a lot worse. They could be going nowhere. I've had a week off. I feel much better for that mentally and physically. Squat numbers are going up. Body composition seems to be improving. Again, could be better. And peak power's on the way up. So physically, I'm improving. That's the main thing. But while I was away, it was a kind of time to think about where I was, where I was going. And a couple of things kind of came to mind. Is that if I want to really push on when numbers get hard to achieve, what's going to be the limiting factors? What things are going to stop me getting better? And there's kind of two things that sprung to mind. One is ability to train. You've got to have the ability to repeatedly train and train hard to really get those last few percent. And then two, you've got to be as mechanically as advantaged as you possibly can be. And while I was away, kind of a couple of things kind of sprung. They pushed themselves to the forefront, if I'm honest, while I was away. And maybe if I was in the middle of work and training, I don't spend the mental energy on those things for them to really get attention in my brain. But because I was away, I didn't have work, I didn't have training, I didn't have vlogs to read and write. There was a bit more kind of grey matter available to these things. So the two areas I'm going to think about. One is this picture. I've spent most of this summer, and forever long after that, I don't know how long before that, with a hanky to my nose. I blame it on hay fever. I have got bad hay fever. But what I realised as well is even outside of hay fever, I seem to be blowing my nose an awful lot. And I don't run into the kind of the unpleasantness of it, but doing a dig around on the internet and medical diagnosis on the internet is not to be recommended. But it appears that if you have hay fever, you're a bit more open to sinus infections. And I couldn't go for a room without having to blow my nose constantly. I've constantly blown my nose. I think I've been one of these people where the hay fever give me these kind of chronic sinus infections. So, right, I'm going to deal with that. So, and decongestion, Sudafed up my nose for a week or two, 10 days. Clearing that. I can actually now do like yoga pose or plank in that prone position and breathe through my nose now, whereas before I couldn't. So it's clearly working. And what that means is I'm just generally better. I'm less of a mouth breather. And if you know about mouth breathing, nose breathing, you'll know that it's much more effective to be a nose breather than a mouth breather. Might help me sleep better. There's lots of little things that will help me get better health-wise if my nose is able to breathe and I'm less relying on mouth breathing. So I think it's a really, really small thing, but I think that small thing over a period of a few months will start to show some real big dividends. So yeah, getting the old nose clear will help. The second one was anterior pelvic tilt. Now, I know I've had this for donkey's years. What that means is my pelvis is kind of tipped, so the back of the pelvis is tipped higher, and then the front of the pelvis is tipped lower. And that has quite a few things. And the reason why I noticed it, and this is a narcissistic, egotistical, aesthetic thing, call it what you like, is basically I looked at me and thought, I look fat. Now, I know I'm measured fat, and I'm 24% body fat, which I'm not happy about, far higher than it should be, but I'm sure I'm not. I don't think I'm as fat as I look there. And it pushes your gut out and it kind of pushes it to the forefront. I think it's your body's way of saying, look at me, this is wrong, deal with it. Now, there are a couple of things that come with that anterior pelvic tilt that I think are really kind of red flags if you want to train hard, especially in like low body strength training. So it kind of works its way from the middle outwards. So it starts off with basically you've got bad lower back. So I get back spasms, not a lot, not frequently, but I don't think they're going to get any better as I get older. Get back spasms, get back pain. As you see there, your quads get short and tight, and I do suffer from patellar tendonitis. I manage it okay, but I don't think I ever get rid of it. And even now, after a heavy squatting day, I feel like a bit of tightness there. Again, because those quads are put into a short, tightened position all the time. Your hamstrings are pulled into a lengthened position because the attachment point is further away from the knee than it is supposed to be because the hips are pulled up and back. Hamstring problems. Yep, don't have many of them, but I do have kind of tight hamstrings, and I'll get to that in a second. And because you've got then this forward lean of the neck, because your pelvis is tilting your spine in the wrong position, you suffer shoulder mobility problems. And I've had no end of shoulder mobility problems and shoulder pain and into the physio. So when I looked at these kind of mechanisms, it explained a lot of the limiting factors I've had in my own training. Some of these turn into injuries, some of these turn into things I just had to train around for many months. And if I want to hit my goals and when the training gets hard, I can't train around these anymore. I have to deal with this. The nitty-gritty is if I want to train hard and train heavy for a long period of time, I can't have anterior pelvic tilt. I need to get rid of that. I need to solve that problem. So I've used a couple of tests now. I use output, as you can see here. I don't think it's quite as loud yet. Output have kind of provided me with a t-shirt and using the gadgets to measure a couple of movements that don't necessarily directly target the degree of anterior pelvic tilt that I've got, but it helps me look at the consequences, the symptoms of the tilt. So looking at hamstring and hip flexion and hip external internal rotation. They're the symptoms. They're not the actual root cause of it, but I don't have the capacity myself to measure my own anterior pelvic tilt. I can see it in the mirror, but I don't have the opportunity to measure that. So I'm going to take some measurements along the way. So I've taken some straight away. So straight leg raise, actually my hamstrings aren't too bad. So the good folks at Output send me this data through. I haven't got any kind of reference point for the other data points, but I know my hips aren't great. Just trying to move them felt painful and uncomfortable. So that's internal feedback for me. No, this isn't brilliant. So I need to do better at that. So there's lots of things that I can work on there. So in short, it's a bit of a long one this week, is having the break was great. It allowed my body to heal and it allowed my brain to think about things in and associated with my training that wouldn't have been given that headspace before. And actually, by looking at the things I've picked up on and some of the solutions I'm going to put into place, hopefully they are the things that allow me to achieve what I haven't in the past. I've trained hard for a period of past and broken down. Trained hard and broken down. I got tired, I got ill, I got injured. And it's these two things I think are central to the reasons why I've done that. So, yeah, that was great. Has it cost me in terms of strength? Don't think so. I think I could maybe have gone a little bit better. My body fat percentage could have been a bit lower. But not by a great deal. I was on the way for a week. It was a family holiday. I didn't go mad. So, yeah, deal with things as you need to. But I think having a week away has lots of benefits as long as done right. Hopefully people found this interesting. And if you need to know any more, please do let me know.